All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to tackle what is, without a doubt, the single most important question for any business. How do you make the absolute most money possible? Now, it's not just about selling more or randomly cutting costs. There's a science to it, a way to find that perfect razor-sharp peak of profitability. And believe it or not, the key to unlocking it is a tool you've been learning about: calculus. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by zeroing in on that one core question that drives everything. Then we'll get our hands dirty and build the mathematical function that models our business. From there, we'll see exactly how calculus acts as our guide. We'll put it all to the test with a real-world case study of a t-shirt company. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at some common profit-killing mistakes that you absolutely need to avoid. Okay, let's dive right in with the big one. We're talking about the fundamental goal that informs every single decision a company makes, from a tiny startup brainstorming in a garage to a massive global corporation. So, I want you to picture this. You've done it. You've developed an amazing new product. The marketing is ready. The team is excited. But now, standing at the edge of this launch, what is the one question you have to get right to truly succeed? It's not just, how do we make sales? It goes deeper than that. It's about optimizing for the best possible outcome. And there it is. That's the million-dollar question. Or hopefully, the multi-million-dollar question. It's all about profit maximization. We're searching for that perfect production number where the gap between what you earn and what you spend is at its absolute widest. You see, if you produce too little, you're leaving money on the table. But, and this is key, if you produce too much, your costs can spiral out of control and actually start eating away at your profit. Our job is to find the very top of what I call the profit mountain. Now, to find the top of that mountain, we can't just rely on guesswork or a gut feeling. We need a map. We need to translate our business operations into the language of mathematics. And that process begins by constructing our most important tool, the profit function. Let's break down its DNA. First up, we have total revenue. Now, on the surface, this looks simple, right? Price times quantity. But here's where the real-world complexity comes in. In almost every market, price isn't a fixed number. If you want to sell more units, you usually have to lower the price a little to entice more customers. This is the law of demand. Because of this, your total revenue isn't a straight line. It's actually a curve, often one that goes up, hits a peak, and then starts to come back down. Next, we have total cost. This is every penny you spend to create and sell your product. We break this down into two categories. First, you've got your fixed costs. Think of these as your overhead. Things like rent for your factory, salaries for your admin staff, insurance. These costs stay the same whether you produce 1 unit or 1,000 units. Then you have your variable costs. These are directly tied to production. Things like raw materials, electricity to run the machines, or shipping. The more you make, the higher these costs go. Your total cost is just these two added together. And that brings us to the star of the show, the profit function, which we often denote with the Greek letter pi. This is beautiful in its simplicity. It's just your total revenue minus your total cost. It's what's left over. And because both revenue and cost are functions of the quantity you produce, profit is too. This function mathematically represents our profit mountain, and our entire goal is to find its highest point. So, we've built our profit function. We can visualize it as this big, curving hill. Now, the critical question is, how do we find the exact summit of that hill without just guessing and checking thousands of different quantities? Well, this is precisely where calculus comes in to be our co-pilot. Calculus is the mathematics of change, and that's exactly what we need to measure. To do this, we need to understand a crucial distinction: the difference between total profit and marginal profit. Total profit is a snapshot. It tells you your altitude on the mountain. Right now, we're at $10,000. But marginal profit tells you how steep the slope is right where you're standing. It answers the question, if I take one more step, if I produce one more unit, how much higher will I go? And that concept, that instantaneous rate of change, has a special name in calculus: the derivative. And this right here is the golden rule for today. This is our core principle. Think about it. As you're climbing that profit mountain, the slope is positive. Every step you take increases your altitude. But what happens right at the very, very top? For that one brief moment, the ground is perfectly flat. The slope is 0. You're not going up anymore, but you haven't started going down yet. That's the peak. That is the point where our marginal profit, the derivative, is exactly 0. So let's think like a manager. You should keep increasing your production as long as making one more item adds something, even just a penny to your total profit. You keep going as long as that marginal profit is positive. The moment you calculate that the next unit you produce will add precisely 0 to your profit, you stop. That's your spot. because if you take one more step after that, the slope will become negative, and you'll actually start losing money on every additional unit you produce. Okay, this has all been great in theory, but let's make it concrete. Let's get our hands dirty. We're going to step into the role of manager for a brand new custom t-shirt company. Our mission is to take these abstract ideas and use them to find the exact number of shirts we should produce to make the most money possible. So here's our 5-step process that you can apply to any business in this situation. First, we need our revenue and cost functions. Let's say our analysts tell us that revenue is R of Q equals negative 0.5Q squared plus 80Q, and our cost is C of Q equals 20Q plus 500. Step 2, we build our profit function. Profit equals revenue minus cost. So P of Q equals negative 0.5Q squared plus 60Q minus 500. Now, with our function built, we're ready for the calculus. Okay, moving to step 3, we take the first derivative of our profit function to find the marginal profit. Using the power rule, P prime of Q equals negative Q plus 60. Now for the magic, step 4. We find the peak by setting that derivative equal to 0. We solve this simple equation, negative Q plus 60 equals 0. A little bit of algebra and boom, Q equals 60. This is it. This is our critical point. The math is telling us that the optimal quantity, the number that will generate the absolute maximum profit, is exactly 60 shirts. And for our final step, number 5, we always confirm that this is a maximum. And look, the proof is right here in the numbers. Let's test the points around our answer. At 59 shirts, our profit is $1,299.50. At 61 shirts, it's the exact same. But right at our target of 60 shirts, we hit our peak profit of $1,300. Any lower or any higher, and our profit starts to fall. The math worked perfectly. We have found the summit of our profit mountain. So we did it. We found the number 60 shirts. So we're done, right? Well, not so fast. Finding the number is just step 1. This is where a truly skilled manager separates themselves from a simple calculator. You have to know how to interpret this number and how to avoid some incredibly common and costly mistakes. For instance, a very common trap is to chase revenue instead of profit. Let's see why that's such a bad idea. So let's break these down. First, never, ever mistake revenue maximization for profit maximization. In our t-shirt example, our revenue would actually be highest if we sold 80 shirts, but the extra cost of producing those 20 shirts would cause our final profit to drop by $200. Your goal is to maximize the gap between revenue and cost, not just revenue itself. Second, always confirm you've found a maximum. A derivative of 0 can also occur at the bottom of a valley, a minimum profit point. You can test the points around it like we did, or use the second derivative test. And finally, remember the golden rule of all modeling. Garbage in, garbage out. If your initial assumptions about your revenue and cost functions are wrong, your final answer, no matter how precise it looks, will be wrong too. So we'll leave you with this final thought. We've seen today that calculus is an unbelievably powerful tool for optimization in business. But it is just that, a tool. The math can give you a precise target to aim for, but it can't build your brand, it can't manage your employees, and it can't innovate. Your branding and marketing strategy are what shape the revenue function to begin with. Your operational efficiency is what determines your cost function. The numbers provide an essential guide, but it's the human elements, the strategy, the creativity, and the leadership that build a business that truly lasts.